gentlemen, put your hands together, please, for Robert A. Davis.
So, about 6 months ago, a couple of my buddies, actually it was 3, 4 of us, we were at Fishbones. And typical Fishbone bar experience with 4 guys, we typically get together, and there's usually 2 conversations that we have. We normally talk sports most of the night, and for the rest of the balance of that, somebody has a woman's story, a women's story. We tell a woman's story. And so, okay, thank you. And so we spent 2 hours doing what men normally do. Unlike women, you know, when a group of women get together, the atmosphere changes almost instantaneously when somebody mentions a cramp or something's going on. Then the conversation just sort of wanders off into those women conversations. But you know how it is. But we sat there and we talked for 2.5 hours about sports. And my contribution was, I love to see a woman with natural hair, silver hair in particular. I really love, I remember I worked with a coworker, and her name was Nettie, and she left the office on a Friday. Her hair was black. And when she came back on Monday, it was silver. And I sat and I looked and I stared because it just exudes so much confidence, and I love to see that when that natural hair comes through. But again, we got back to the conversation. We talked about LeBron. We talked about the fact that he was going to leave Miami. He's going to come up and do something for Cleveland. And you know the story. It's been a storyline for a long time. And I decided I was going to shake things up. We had spent 2.5 hours there. I said, I'm going to introduce my little bucket list because I got a birthday coming up in about 6 months. And I've always wanted, my son had said this one time, I've always wanted to go to a particular place, and I said to just announced it sort of casually, here's a part of my bucket list. Before too long, before I get too old, I'm going to a nude beach. I got that same reaction at the bar. Yeah, man, right. And I looked over and there was a buddy sitting there, and I said, hey, man, you would go to the nude beach, wouldn't you? And again, I just got this distant stare. And I pressed it a little more. I mean, I'm serious, man. I'm not joking. I mean, you know, hey, we in our 50s, but still we can hang out. I mean, this would be cool, you know. We can do this. I mean, naturalists, nudists, that's a sport, ain't it? So I asked my buddy James, I said, man, you would go to the beach, and he just didn't say a word. I thought he was saying, I got you, man, I got you. But his distant stare and his silence was almost like a microphone, because I had seen that stare before. So again, I knew he had a bout with cancer. I didn't know what form of cancer, but I knew he had a bout with cancer. But throughout the entire 3.5 hours we at this bar, never once did we talk about his cancer nor his situation. We just talked about sports, and we peppered it every now and then with a conversation about women. So the next day, because I was so intrigued, I picked up the phone and I called my buddy. I said, James, man, you got to tell me about this distant stare that I noticed. Oh, man, it ain't nothing. No problem. I got this covered. I keep it moving. And when I heard the word, I keep it moving, that really was a code word that I had recognized. So I tried to press it again. Oh, man, no big deal, nothing. So the second week, I called him again. I said, man, I hate to keep pushing this, but let's talk a little bit about what happened at the bar that night when I asked you that question, and you gave me that distant stare. Oh, man, it ain't nothing. Don't worry about it. I'm all right. I'm cool. But see, I had recognized that stare because when I was 12 years old, I was about as tall as I am now, lanky, Anita, you can testify, skinny guy. I was so skinny. I mean, I was like tall, skinny, and it was my first experience going to middle school. I went to Thurkel, and then I went to Hutchins Middle School. And I remember the second day of class, I got teased because I was so skinny. Everybody felt like this multiplied, amplified the skinny boy who's tall, who's dark-skinned, who's got nappy hair. At the time I had hair. And a couple of folks said he's ugly. It's like, damn. I mean, damn. 12, but hey, give me a break. So we had to take a swimming class at Hutchins. And I was terrified. The thought that I had got teased the second day of class because I was this tall, lanky, skinny guy. And I was so skinny, y'all. And I remember the first day I went to that swimming class, I swore to God I would never go back because I was taunted. I just talked about as a child. And I remember going home and I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the person that I most look up to, most admire. I'm going to just go and tell my daddy what happened at the swim class today. Because I felt as though somebody had snatched my heart out. They had talked about me so bad. And when I looked at my daddy, and he's a big guy, and I was waiting to hear because he's like my superhero, and I knew he would have wise words for me. And he looked at me, and he said, oh, man, suck it up. Damn, suck it up. 12 years old. Suck it up. I mean, 2 words? I just told you my life experience in 2 words. Suck it up. So my father told me. That's what his father told him. Suck it up. So, y'all, I was a smart kid. I knew I was struggling with being this tall, skinny kid. So I started eating ice cream every day for a year. Got so bad, really, I would put on a pair of blue jeans and I would put on a pair of pants over them to camouflage. That's how it's bad. So I was sharing this with my friend, and I knew that he apparently got the same memo from his dad that I got from mine. So the third time, I called him. I said, man, we really gotta, you gotta say something. He said, okay, man, I'll tell you. About a few years ago, I was stricken with a rare form of breast cancer. I had radiation. I went through chemotherapy. And finally, I had a mastectomy. So the reason why I talked and looked the way I looked, because I went through that whole experience all by myself. I couldn't tell a soul. I just dealt with it, kept it moving. But I got a laceration across my chest that reminds me every day of what I went through the last 5 years. And at that point, you know what I've discovered? That the authentic voice of a father or a mother could speak right into a person's soul and change their destiny from now on, going forward. And so rather than be cavalier and say, suck it up, I got real quiet and found one word to say to my buddy. I said, I understand. I got you. I understand. And it seems like when I said that, the door just opened, and it reminded me, it took me back to about 10 years ago when my dad died. My mother was 75 years old. She had been married to him for 50 long years. She was a faithful wife, and she was dedicated to him, and she and I, we took care of him the last 6 months of his life, and I remember when he died like a king. And we would check on my mother. She was 75, as I said, and she'd always tell us everything was fine, everything was well. About 9 months in, she dialed my number thinking she had dialed someone else's number. And through caller ID, I knew it was my mother, but she said, "This is May." And I knew that wasn't my mother's name. But she said, "This is May." And I could hear the crackling in her voice. I could hear the nervousness in her voice. And she said, and she had called this guy that she had met at the gas station, and she was saying, "I'm so lonely. I just feel like I'm by myself. And I'm real nervous. And if my kids knew what I was doing, they really wouldn't understand." And when I heard that, I said, "Ma, I understand." She was like, "Damn. Robert, I didn't know this was you on the other end of the line. Damn." I said, "Ma, but I really do understand." And she said, No, Robert, you really don't understand, because your brother would have a hard time with this, and your sister even wrote me a letter. How dare you? You've been married 50 years. I said, "Ma, stop. We love Daddy, but Daddy is dead. And I understand at 75, you still want to move forward with your life, and it's okay. It's all right." My mother said, "Robert, I'm so glad you understand." And men, I want to tell you this today. My relationship with my mother, the way we have conversations, I've enjoyed conversations with her that my brother and my sister will never have. One day I called her early in the morning. I noticed she hadn't been home. I was like, wait a minute, now it's 8 in the morning. What's up with that? She said, "Robert," she went over her friend's house. She got to know him. She said, "We sat up all night long on the sofa, and watched movies." It's like, "You ain't never did that with Dad, but I'm glad you had a good time." So getting back to my friend, James was telling me, he said, let me tell you a little more about cancer and this form of cancer. He said, first of all, 40,000 women are afflicted by this form of cancer every year. About 400 to 500 die. And only 1% of that 40,000, or 1%, is men. And man, let me tell you, can you imagine what it felt like when I went to the doctor's office and sat in that chair and no other men in there? It was all women. And in fact, it was so bad, Doc, I hear you. It was so bad, he said, I tried to cover my face with a magazine. There wasn't even no magazines. I pick up Ebony. I couldn't, there was, Essence, whatever, Women's Journal. There was no Sports Illustrated. There was nothing. I couldn't even have my face. And when they called me, I'm like looking around. Everybody's looking to see if I'm with my wife, my girlfriend, whatever. I'm by myself. And I'm going to get a mammogram. I'm like, a mammogram? Man, you ain't got no mail. Did you have to put it between the glass, and did they have to, press and prod and do all that? Damn. So at that point, I knew how important this trip was. I said, man, we got to do this. Got to do this, man. Yeah, man, we'll do this, but I ain't taking my shirt off. No way in hell I'm taking my shirt off. My mind went back to when my daughter was like a little girl. And Malcolm, you might remember this. They were playing in the backyard, my son and my daughter and two other little boys were playing, and they were playing baseball, they were playing tag, and all of a sudden the little guys just peeled their shirts off. All of them. The 3 boys peeled their shirts off and started running through the water sprinkler. And my daughter just gave me that same stare that I recognized. As to say, Dad, why can't I take my shirt off? I mean, I'm faster than them. I can run faster, I can hit the ball harder, I can do all that. But why is it that I can't take my shirt off? And she walked up to me without saying one word, but with that distant stare. I just reached over and I pulled her shirt off. I said, Miranda, you enjoy yourself. In fact, kick some ass. So I knew how important this trip was. And about 2 weeks before the trip was planned, the Expedia sent me an email. And when I saw that email, I was like, man, this trip is real. We really going. I got to find a way to get out of this. So I thinking of stuff to say. I picked up the phone. Man, I'm just going to be honest with you. There ain't no way I can go to this doggone nude beach. I mean, come on, man. We ain't going to do that. I'm so glad you said that, Rob. Because ain't no way I'm going to go to that nude beach either, because I ain't taking my shirt off. But I knew how important it was and that we had to shed some things. And I said, wait a minute, man. And I'm looking at this magazine that had Michael Phelps on it. And I said, let me cut a deal with you. Here's the deal. We go to Miami, and we ain't going to the new beach, but I'll tell you what I'll do. If you take your shirt off, I'll wear a pair of Speedos. It's cool. All right. And that's my son sitting on the front row. And let me just tell you about my son. I thank God that he did not get the memo that I got. Because when he was 12 years old, I'm sitting at home, we chilling in the room, we watching Law and Order. My wife was reading a book. And Malcolm started taking these long showers. I noticed his showers was getting longer and longer. Damn, what is he doing? Longer. So Malcolm, again, he didn't get the memo I got. There was this loud yell, "Ma, Dad, oh my God, you gotta come here. You gotta see this thing. It's long as my head and hard as a rock." "Dad, come see this thing. It's long, it's hard as a rock." My wife said, "I think it's time you go ahead and talk." So I didn't know what to say. I just walked in and said, "Man, you better not run my water bill up." That's all I'm saying to you. So we finally get to Miami. And we get the budget rent-a-car. We in Miami. And so we get the budget rent-a-car. I had just put 3 kids through school, so I'm looking at a little cheap, inexpensive minivan, something cheap. And I decided, hey, man, here in Miami, let's live it up. I asked the guy, "Do you have a Mustang convertible? Drop top?" And this ain't no midlife crisis stuff. I want dual exhaust, 4 on the floor. I won't go all the way out. So I pulled my American Express out. "Give me a red Mustang." And James said, "Man, we're going to have premium parking because I got my handicap sticker." I was like, damn. So I'm in Miami and I'm taking my shirts off. We get ready. Get ready here. I'm getting ready now. We're going to have a good time. And Miami is beautiful, y'all. It's like it's the prettiest place you ever did want to see. Pretty people, pretty cars, pretty everything. Everybody's pretty in Miami. Like, damn. So I'm sitting here. Malcolm, you didn't see this, but I'm sitting here and I'm in my, y'all know, I got my little shorts here, I got my little thing going on here, and I'm ready. I'm really ready. So we get our premium parking space about a block from the place, and my buddy now had these 1960 green shorts with a lot of material on them. They were bouncing in the wind. And just as we were going across the street, we spot a Speedo store. Like, damn. So He said, man, I'm gonna jump all the way over. I'm gonna do the speedo thing too. Like, wait a minute, I'm saying to myself quietly, we taking this a little too far. I mean, we both 55 years old, and he's a bigger guy than me. And you know, speedos, first of all, ain't made for black men. And secondly, black men would be looking real suspect in a pair of speedos if we was up in Detroit. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? We go into the speedo store, and he's looking for, didn't find a size. I was, praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Didn't find no size to fit him. I went over to the discount rack, and there was one pair spinning. He said, man, I got to put this on. We got to do this. We made a pact. We got to do this. I said, okay, here's the deal. What happens in Miami stays in Miami. Ain't nobody gonna ever hear about this story. In fact, I'm taking this story to the grave with me. So we walk across the street, and there's this beautiful, pristine beach. There's families there, there's kids, senior citizens, but everybody looked beautiful, though. And I got the speedos on under the trunk, y'all. But there ain't no way I'm gonna stand up at the beach and take these trunks off. So I got down in the sand. And this is where I'm gonna stay. I ain't moving. I did cut a deal, but I ain't going nowhere. I like it in the sand. It feels good down here. The sand, it feels good. It's warm. It's comfortable. But in the back of my mind, y'all know what I'm thinking about. I'm going all the way back to when I was 12 years old. So I knew I had to do something. So I started just peeling off the short. But I looked to the left, and my buddy had not only taken off his shorts, but he had taken off his shirt. And he started walking on the beach. And I'm looking just like this, and I'm looking at everybody. I still can't stand up, y'all. I'm looking at everybody on that beach, and nobody noticed him. Not a soul. And then he saw a particular demographic that he could relate to, because you know, black folks, we can be real vociferous, y'all. I mean, Google it. You got your phone, just Google it. We can cut each other up with one or two words, and y'all know we can. And everybody in here know how to do it. So he figured now, if he can get past them, he can get past anything. And so he decided to walk right up in their airspace. And this is that same group. I mean, I wish that our young men could understand how much influence and power they actually have. Because I remember when my son was like 17 years old, I caught him one time putting some magnetic clip-on earrings in his ear. Because he didn't have pierced ears. 17. I said, Malcolm, what you doing? He said, Dad, when I go to the club, if my pants ain't sagging and I ain't got no earrings and tattoos, the women don't talk to me. He just graduated as Doctor of Dental Surgery. Got a nice contract. Everybody talking to him now. But that group was the same group that ostracized us or cast us out when I was 12 years old. And if anybody would make a snickering remark, it would be that group. So he walked right up to that group. And I got to tell you, y'all, my man was walking proud as a peacock. He was strutting in that doggone Speedo. And I'm still like this. He walked right past them, and they didn't say a word. None of them even noticed when he walked by. And so he made his loop all the way back around. He came and he looked at me and he said, "Rob, man, why you got that strange look on your face?" I said, "James, man, what I noticed is you took a walk on the beach. You shedded your shirt. You walked right up to all sorts and just walked past everybody, and nobody even noticed you. So it lets me know it's all in our mind." So a couple of weeks later, I called him up as I was preparing for this. I said, "What did that really symbolize for you?" He said, two things. One, man, as we was walking across the street, I'll be honest with you, I'm saying, no way in hell am I going to take my shirt off. And number two, though, he said the Speedo represented freedom. It represented the fact that the cancer had not gripped my life to a point where I was suspended and no longer could move. And I was going on it from that point with my life to live. "What about you, man?" I said, "Well, man, I'm still stuck in the beach." On the sand. But as I thought about it, Donny Hathaway wrote a song. He said, "I sing this song for you." So to all the people who have been tormented because you're too fat, or you're too skinny, you're too tall, or you're too short, your head is nappy, or you like me ain't got no hair. For all of us who are stuck in the sand based on what somebody else thinks about you and say about you, I'm standing up. And this is my story.
Robert Davis, ladies and gentlemen.